Good evening. Welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. I know it's pretty late for me to be doing a video, but I have been reading this book on Audible. I call it reading, but listening. So if you guys have not read this book, you have got to read it. It is going to trip you out. All this stuff is making sense to me, and anybody that's watching my channel, it's making sense to you, and you can listen to this book and you're going to be like, now I understand everything. It is called Pleiadian Code I, The Great Soul Rescue by Eva Marquez, M-A-R-Q-U-E-Z, E-V-A. And it talks about our blood in there. Well, it talks about a whole lot of other things, but one thing that really caught my ear was she was talking about the origins of human beings on the earth. And we were actually a genetic experiment, because what ended up happening was the Earth had been in some galactic wars. There were some galactic wars here in galactic wars in the universe, and they trickled down into this planet. And the planet has been like wiped out twice. And I've been reading that we were on our third seeding. So that's got to be, this is like I don't know, the fifth or sixth source that said that we were on our third seeding, that the first two seedings were completely wiped off. Well, we had all of these extraterrestrial races that had genetic, they don't reproduce like we do, okay? This is a sex planet. Now I know why it's called the sex planet, okay? Well, you know, we have this body that has crystals in it and all this stuff, because basically what we are is, we're part animal and we're part angel, so we're human. And so what happened with them was that we had this faction of people that were inhabiting Earth after it had been wiped out like the second time. They were here, and they were the Anunnaki. Okay, so get this. This makes so much more sense with what's going on with these Anunnaki people. Okay, they say, I've been reading a lot that Anunnaki were not really one race, and even in this order that I'm learning now, that I'm going to school for, they talk about that the Anunnaki was a very broad group of people, that it's kind of like just saying humans is Anunnaki. Well, Anunnaki people were just a whole bunch of people that from all over the universe, all different races and everything like that. They were like your engineers and things like this. They were really smart people. And not all of them were bad. They ended up being tricked by a few bad people, kind of like you had with Adolf Hitler. Okay, well, what ended up happening was they were doing genetic experiments, okay? Now, everybody has to be following universal laws, or it has to have the consent of this whole galactic group that makes the decision to call, I think they're called the Council of Light. So anyway, the Council of Light, these people that were going along with these genetic experiments that were on Earth, where they were taking and they were fusing DNA, and they had all these animal creatures and all kind of stuff, because they were trying to find a race of people that they could modify to do all this work, because they were here mining resources, and they were doing genetic experiments, because a lot of these Anunnaki thought that this was approved by the council, when really it wasn't. That there were a few people that were leading everybody around, and they actually did not. They went rogue. So this is your Luciferian rebellion. Okay, so originally when they created, all this blood is all basically Anunnaki hybrids, okay? Some people, there are like 3 races of people. It's the American, like the Native American Indians. I think it was the Hispanic race, and the white race. They were from one group that had survived a cataclysm. And then we had all of these races were specially seeded. We're all specially seeded here, you know. We're all star seeds. Our souls all come from the universe. Okay, so when they started taking these humans, they put they robbed the DNA bank, because these celestial or higher councils, all of these creator races, this genetic material was the way that they reproduced. Okay, so it's kind of like cloning. Okay, so they stole this angelic type substance, because this is high frequency stuff, and inserted it into these hybrid things that they were doing. They started infusing all kind of animals, because this is the DNA. We had these bird beings from these extraterrestrial, the bird people. They were, the way I understand it, the birds were these carrion, which is funny because I found this because I was looking up this thought that dropped in my head, because I kept saying, well, I wonder what planet that I came from, what's, you know, constellation. And I kept getting, you're a carrion. A carrion is what I thought it said, a carrion. And so I started looking up, trying to find a planet or a star called Carrion. But after I've been reading and listening to all this stuff, it was a group of people. They were the first emanation of whatever type physical being that came from the absolute. They were birds, and so they basically had, everything came from these birds. These reptilians and all this come from these bird people. So these Anunnaki beings, they were all different beings. There was not one certain being among them, because not all of them were corrupt. They got mixed up in this stuff. They got mixed up in it. So when they created humans, they didn't give them the opportunity to reproduce. And maybe this is where you get all of these things on ancient Greece, where you had the Titans, and it always shows them like laying around having orgies and stuff. Well, I guess that's what these gods on Earth did. They weren't gods, they were just humans. They were higher dimensional frequencies. Well, they were down here having fun. You know, they had all these humans working for them for slaves, and they were having sex and all this stuff. So what they did was they had all of these beings that they had genetically turned into slaves. They had them all addicted to stuff. Like, they had them addicted to food. They had them addicted to drugs. They had all kind of drugs back then. They had them addicted to drugs so they could control them. Because they would sign over themselves to get their fix, right? Because they had addictive habits. I guess maybe because they were born out of trauma. Who knows? So then they decided, they got tired of making us. They got tired of making enough people to do the work. So they decided to tinker the genetics back, because they had disconnected the sex reproduction part of these humans that they created. They were saving that for themselves. So then they put it back together and let humans have sex like they did. But the thing of it is that they made them sign oaths. They swore allegiance in their soul contracts with blood to be able to have the ability to have sex. So I was listening to this and I'm like, no way. You mean to tell me we got stuck here because of people signing our contracts in blood for sex and reproduction? Because see, when they made us part animal and part celestial, it created an ego, which is the animal portion of us, and then our soul is the celestial part of us, because we come from these divine creator tribes that are, because their genetic material was stolen. It's like somebody breaking in and stealing something from the sperm and egg bank, right? Just stealing all of it and then just making up a whole bunch of people. You know, with these, say that these were really important, you know, just say that this was the eggs and of the two most intelligent, oldest people that ever lived on the planet. Just say that they were just spectacular, because this is what these celestial beings, these founder creator races that are in these 15-dimensional realities are. They're like what we could consider celestial, because they are at a completely different vibration than us. This is why we can't see them, because they are literally like a strobe light. And I don't know if you're strobe sensitive, but I know I am, and it would give me a seizure. So, you know, a lot of people in the RH bloodlines must have been some of these people that have these contracts on their blood. And, you know, it goes further than, you know, a lot of people say the Freemasons and stuff. Yeah, they did, because they were doing sex magic. They were doing this magic, and they were making blood oaths. Right, because they were swearing allegiance to these Anunnaki beings, right? And so it says that blood carries the ego's program for survival and reproduction. So if we have a program, we have a program in our blood. We have programs in our body parts, in our cells, and everything else. They are actually programs. Our blood has programs. So this opens a whole nother can of worms about all the stuff that happens to these kids, and why you have these families that they did all the stuff to their own kids, and they put them in these programs, and they were in these black lodges, because, you know, not all the Masonic lodges are bad either. But some of them were, because everything was infiltrated. There was good and bad in everything. That's why they used the checkerboard floor. It was to show that the twin flame, which is your complete opposite, that when you come together makes one. It's like the Mizpah. You know, they fit together. It's like putting an electrical outlet, sticking the cord in. One completely balances out the other. That's your twin flame. That's the other half of you, right? So basically, dark and light in the checkerboard is the same thing. It's the bringing together of your twin flame. So, I mean, so our blood has a program in it. We have a blood program. So this might explain, this starts to go into the whole thing of chelonic and morphinogenic science that I'm studying. So anyway, what do you guys think about the fact that our blood has programs in it? My dogs we have the windows open, and they're smelling all kind of wild animals out here. So I'm going to end this video. I just thought that was really interesting, that our blood has a program, and that we signed our soul contracts in blood. And no wonder we're stuck here. So we've got to work on everything from the ground up, folks. Everything from the ground up, from, you know, working with the planet, growing our own food, turning back into our communities, getting away from materialism. I mean, all this stuff, because everybody has to ascend. Everybody has to ascend. And if you have karma that you have on earth, or you have to keep coming back, trauma, anything like that, it has to be completely taken care of. This is what they mean by karma and trauma. Trauma is the same thing as karma. If you have it, you can't get off the planet. You have to keep coming back till you deal with it. So, you know, everybody has to do their shadow work. Hey, that's enough. Sorry. Benji, come on. So anyway, that's all I have for this video. 13 minutes. Sorry for the dog barking, but you know, they're animals. What can you say? They're not people. You can't just sit them down in the corner and tell them to be quiet. They don't listen. They don't have all the programming. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. So please go to Audible and get those books. They're free on Audible. And you know, even if you have to get a trial membership on there just so you can listen to those books, you got to do it. But mind-blowing, folks. Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So with that, make sure you're doing your I am affirmations. You got to do them every morning and night for 3 weeks. Don't forget. And keep in mind that you have that seal for protection. So with that, oh my gosh, Ghost is laying right down here by my feet. So we're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. I hope you had a great day, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.